what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2006 Suzuki Reno. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Suzuki Reno for two reasons. First of all, these weren't even very popular when they were originally on sale. So finding one this day and age with under 50,000 miles on it is an absolute diamond in the rough. And so I knew I had to film it. I had totally forgotten about the Reno until this popped up on North Naperville Auto's lot, and I knew I had to jump on it. The second reason is that this inches me ever so closer to my goal of driving a Daewoo. This isn't badged as a Daewoo, however, it shares a lot of the guts with it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for providing the vehicle in this video. I will talk a lot about them towards the end, but please go browse their inventory with the link down below. But let's get back to that 2-liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it is a GM-based engine. We'll get into the politics a little bit later on, but it's a little 4-cylinder, makes 130-something horsepower. The numbers aren't very stiff, but it's a little 4-cylinder because this was a more economy-based vehicle, and it's from GM. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. It's shifting. That's it. That's all about the 4-speed there. Last but not least, of course, the Suzuki Reno is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a Suzuki Reno? Well, it is very, very basic. These cars were designed and built to be economy cars that were very affordable, and that was always Suzuki's angle. That's why when I drove a Suzuki Kizashi, it was so weird because it felt like a luxury car. Well, this... Yeah, this don't feel like no luxury car today. This is pretty bottom of the barrel, and as we talk about the interior and features, I think that will become very apparent. So, speaking of which, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is the fuel and coolant temperature. I do get a digital odometer reading that beautiful 49,000 miles. On the steering wheel, I get an airbag and the horn buttons. No type of cruise control, no forward-facing buttons, no audio, no nothing, because I guess I wasn't deserving. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent and a gauge dimmer switch. I'm just laughing because of how Spartan this interior is. And moving on to the door, we do have power mirrors, which are up attached to the mirror itself. Seems like a little bit of an afterthought. The world's smallest speaker on the door handle. Child locks and power windows. Again, very impressed to see power windows in the Suzuki Reno. Moving into the center, I get a digital clock. That's pretty sweet. 2 climate control vents, hazard switch, and the radio. The radio does, in fact, have a CD player. Very nice for 2006. Actually, no, just kidding. Most cars had CD players in 06. For some reason, I thought we were in the 90s for a second. This is run-of-the-mill. Climate controls down below that, fan speed off to the left, where to send it in the center, and temperature off to the right. 12-volt outlet down below, along with an ashtray. So, don't worry, you can still catch a Bernie in your Suzuki Reno. Big cubby down below with another 12-volt outlet. This one has the cigarette lighter in it. And then we come to the shifter. The shifter feels and looks very Toyota, which I'm not sure if it is or isn't. I don't have any hard evidence, but GM was producing cars with Toyota in this era, so it's not the biggest stretch, but if anyone knows better, you can leave a comment. And then we have the cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Suzuki Reno, and as you can see, it is pretty small. However, you can open up this door and flip it to the other side, and it gets bigger, and so the big friggin' bottle still doesn't fit. But I thought that this was a pretty cool little contraption here for the cup holder of the Suzuki Reno. However, if you flip the little flap forward and put the big friggin' bottle behind it, now it does in fact pass. So the 06 Suzuki Reno gets an official pass on the big friggin' bottle test. Center console with some interesting storage options in there, but nothing crazy beyond that. And the seats are cloth. They are a little unforgiving, but they're not the most uncomfortable seats I've ever sat in. They're fine, they're doing the job, they're holding me within the chassis of the Suzuki Reno, and I feel like that's all I can ask for from this vehicle. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2006 Suzuki Reno. Very cool to say that, but in terms of amenities, I get an ashtray down below, power windows, and speakers in the door handles that are the same as up front, which is interesting. No center console, but knee room good, headroom good. This doesn't try to pinch me or squeeze me into a space I don't want to be in. Do I love being in the back of a Suzuki Reno? But honestly, it's not that bad for a big guy like me. I'm 5'11", not a small guy, and I actually could ride back here and fit back here pretty good. And GM was very good about that in this era. I have always praised GM of this era of having good backseat space. Even the Chevy Aveo had decent backseat space. That's always a good thing to see. Let's hop out, speaking of space, and talk about the hatch, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Suzuki Reno. Lift it up like this, and here we are. This is the back. I have some little holders down here, toolkit. Obviously, these are the floor mats we want to keep nice for the next owner, and you can pull this up, spare tire, more tools down there, things like that. Nothing really groundbreaking. I do get a light. I guess that's nice to see, but here is the back of a Suzuki Reno, something you probably haven't seen in a very, very long time. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And first of all, it's finished in this awesome orange color. I absolutely love that. But just looking at this car visually, it does look like a foreign market vehicle. This doesn't look like a car that was sold here in the States. Maybe it's because I'm so unfamiliar with them. Maybe it's because you just don't see them anymore. And so the only time you do see them is in foreign markets. I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't look Americanized. That's a very interesting spot to be in for cars. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Suzuki Reno? It's very cool. It's a very cool experience because this car is so unknown, so unloved. I'm probably the only person posting a Suzuki Reno video today, maybe this week, maybe this month. These cars didn't sell all that well even when they were hot and new. Suzuki's never really sold that well here in the United States, and so they actually didn't last super long in the US market after this car. But to understand this vehicle, we do have to go back to the 1970s. In the 1970s, we had an oil crisis and a crackdown on emissions and safety standards. I did a whole video about it, about the malaise era. If you're interested, I would highly recommend checking that out. It's kind of a brief overlook of decade to give you some background info. But long story short, American car makers couldn't make an economy car to save their life, and they were getting beaten out by the Japanese and German imports. They did spend a lot of money trying to make their own economy cars, but they sucked. So all the American makers turned to the Japanese makers and started forming bonds or buying up assets. GM clung to Suzuki and Isuzu, but Suzuki. And so they started rebadging Suzukis as their own. They started picking up and figuring out how to really make an economy car. They learned the ways from Suzuki. Well, this made GM a decent amount of money, so they wanted to buy another economy car brand. This time they looked to South Korea at a brand called Daewoo that was not doing well. And so GM bought up Daewoo and started rebadging their cars, as well as Daewoo was here in the States already. So this car is really a Daewoo, just kind of switched around, rewritten, and made a Suzuki, but also still a GM. And while Daewoo didn't last, GM actually still uses Daewoo's assets. They build the Chevy Trax in the old Daewoo factory in South Korea. It's still very much a part of GM's culture, just not in namesake. My point being is that this is a very convoluted political car. Is it Japanese? Is it South Korean? Is it American? The answer is yes and no at every point in that journey. It kind of is, it kind of isn't. What this car really reinforces is that sometimes cars are built and designed with love, and there's a team of engineers that want the best driving experience, or they want to evoke a certain emotion out of a driver through the car. Some cars are works of art, and some cars are passion projects that somehow make it to the streets. And then there are cars like this. that fill a box. This is a product. Don't think of this car as a Suzuki Reno. Think of this as hatchback number 4605. And GM will slap whatever badge they want on the front, stick a name on the back, and call it a day, no matter the market. I mean, this car was sold globally under so many different names. This is a global product. It's not a global passion. However, I was still so excited to share with you this low mileage, very clean example of a Suzuki Reno. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me take out their Suzuki Reno. They are absolutely wonderful. They have tons of cool and interesting vehicles on the lot all the time. I've reviewed tons of really cool 90s and 2000s cars from them. Always well kept, always well maintained, and I appreciate them very, very much. Their information is found in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed checking out the Suzuki Reno with me today. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.